When we talk about strength after the age of 60, we are not really talking about muscles in the way fitness magazines usually describe them. We are talking about the quiet systems inside the body that allow a person to stand up without thinking, to walk across a room without fear, to carry groceries, to reach for something overhead, to wake up in the morning without stiffness, dictating the mood of the entire day. Strength, at this stage of life, becomes less about appearance and more about permission to live freely inside one's own body. The human body is remarkably adaptive, even later in life. That idea alone challenges one of the most damaging myths about aging, that decline is inevitable and irreversible. Biology tells a different story. Aging changes the body, yes, but it does not shut down its ability to respond. Muscles still respond to stimulus. Bones still respond to load. The nervous system still rewires itself in response to practice. What changes is the margin for error and the need for intention. After 60, the body asks us to move with awareness rather than force, with consistency rather than intensity. Every year after 60, several processes unfold at the same time. Muscle tissue gradually becomes less dense and less responsive if it is not challenged. Bone tissue remodels more slowly, especially after menopause, when hormonal shifts reduce the signals that once protected skeletal strength. The inner ear and nervous system become slightly less efficient at detecting changes in position, which affects balance. The heart and lungs still function beautifully, but they require more frequent reminders to stay efficient. None of this is a failure of the body. It is simply biology following rules that respond to how the body is used. What is often overlooked is that these systems do not decline in isolation. They are deeply connected. Balance is not just about the feet. It is about the brain interpreting signals from muscles, joints, eyes, and inner ear all at once. Strength is not just about muscle fibers. It is about nerve signals, joint alignment, and confidence. Endurance is not just about the heart. It is about efficiency, posture, breathing, and rhythm. When one system weakens, the others quietly compensate until they can't. This is often when people begin to feel old, not because of age itself, but because coordination between systems has been neglected. Movement, then, becomes a form of communication with the body. Each time you move in a controlled, intentional way, you are sending a message. You are reminding muscle cells that they are needed. You are reminding bones that they are meant to bear weight. You are reminding the nervous system that it must stay alert and adaptable. Over time, these messages accumulate. Biology responds not to single efforts, but to repeated signals delivered gently and consistently. One of the most fundamental movements humans perform is the act of lowering the body and standing it back up again. Long before gyms existed, this movement was part of daily survival. Sitting, squatting, standing, climbing, these are not exercises invented by fitness culture. They are expressions of how the body was designed to interact with gravity. When these movements are removed from daily life, the body interprets that absence as a signal that certain tissues are no longer required. Muscle fibers shrink, bone remodeling slows, joint lubrication decreases. The decline feels sudden, but it is actually the result of years of quiet disuse. What is encouraging is how quickly the body responds when those movements are reintroduced in a safe and respectful way. Muscle cells increase protein synthesis even in older adults. Bone cells respond to gentle, repeated loading. Joints produce more synovial fluid when they are moved through comfortable ranges. The nervous system sharpens its ability to predict and correct movement. None of this requires extreme effort. It requires appropriate effort. Spinal movement deserves special attention, particularly as we age. The spine is not a rigid pillar, it is a living structure designed to move in multiple directions. Over time, posture patterns develop based on habits, years of looking down, sitting, reaching forward. These patterns subtly alter the distribution of forces along the spine. Discs experience uneven pressure. Muscles that should support posture become underused. Others become chronically tense. Gentle spinal movement restores conversation between these tissues. It nourishes discs, coordinates breathing with motion, and reminds the nervous system that the spine is meant to move, not brace in fear. Breathing plays a larger role here than many people realize. Breath is not simply about oxygen exchange. It influences spinal stability, nervous system tone, and even emotional state. Slow, coordinated breathing during movement signals safety to the brain. When the brain perceives safety, muscles relax enough to move efficiently. This is one reason gentle, rhythmic movements can feel restorative rather than exhausting. They are not just mechanical actions, they are regulatory signals to the nervous system. Balance, often feared after 60, is not a mysterious talent that disappears overnight. It is a skill, and like any skill, it improves with practice. Balance is the result of constant micro-adjustments happening faster than conscious thought. When balance is challenged in a controlled environment, the nervous system refines these adjustments. Muscles learn to respond more quickly. Joints learn to stabilize more efficiently. Confidence grows, and with confidence comes smoother movement. Fear, on the other hand, stiffens movement and paradoxically increases fall risk. Training balance safely is not about eliminating risk, it is about teaching the body how to manage it. Endurance is often misunderstood as something that requires long, exhausting workouts. In reality, endurance at this stage of life is about sustaining everyday activity without undue fatigue. It is about being able to climb stairs without stopping, to walk while holding conversation, to recover quickly after exertion. Short bouts of rhythmic, weight-bearing movement accomplish this by improving cardiovascular efficiency and muscular coordination at the same time. The heart adapts. Blood vessels respond. Muscles learn to use oxygen more effectively. These adaptations do not demand suffering, they demand regularity. Bone health, particularly for women after menopause, is often framed in terms of loss. But bone tissue remains responsive throughout life. It responds best to forces that are varied, weight-bearing, and applied through normal movement patterns. The body evolved under conditions where walking, lifting, and changing direction were unavoidable. When these patterns are gently restored, bone cells receive the mechanical signals they need to maintain density. Importantly, this does not require bending or twisting in risky ways. Stability and alignment matter more than range. Hip strength deserves special reflection because the hips are central to nearly all human movement. They connect the upper and lower body. They transfer force between the ground and the spine. Weakness here does not announce itself loudly. It shows up as subtle compensations, shorter steps, slower turns, a cautious gait. Strengthening the muscles around the hips improves posture, reduces strain on the lower back, and stabilizes the pelvis during walking. This translates directly into confidence. Confidence changes how a person moves through the world. Walking itself is a marvel of coordination. It requires balance, strength, timing, and adaptability. Each step is a controlled fall followed by recovery. When lateral stability is weak, the body compensates by widening the stance or reducing speed. Over time, this increases energy cost and fatigue. Training the muscles that control side-to-side movement restores efficiency. Movement becomes smoother, less effortful. Walking feels natural again rather than something to manage carefully. What ties all of this together is the concept of integration. The body does not train in isolated compartments. Real life does not separate strength from balance or endurance from coordination. Every movement we perform is a blend. Effective training respects this reality. Instead of exhausting one system at a time, it gently challenges several at once. This mirrors how the body actually functions and explains why modest routines can produce profound changes when they are well designed. Consistency is the quiet force behind all biological adaptation. The body is less impressed by intensity than by repetition. Small, regular challenges accumulate into structural change. Muscles become more responsive. Bones become more resilient. The nervous system becomes more confident. Perhaps most importantly, trust between the mind and body is rebuilt. Many people over 60 carry an unspoken fear of their own movement, fear of pain, fear of injury, fear of falling. Gentle, successful movement experiences replace fear with evidence. Each successful repetition becomes proof that the body is still capable. There is also a psychological dimension that cannot be separated from the physical. Movement influences mood, cognition, and sense of agency. When people feel physically capable, they engage more with life. They socialize more, explore more, and maintain curiosity. This engagement feeds back into physical health through increased activity and better stress regulation. The body and mind form a loop, each reinforcing the other. The scientific curiosity that underlies this approach comes from observing how adaptable the human organism remains across the lifespan. Aging is not the loss of adaptability, it is the narrowing of tolerance for extremes. When movement respects this reality, staying within safe ranges, emphasizing control, honoring recovery, adaptation continues. The body does not resist change, it resists threat. Remove the sense of threat, and change becomes possible again. There is compassion in this understanding. It shifts the narrative away from blame or pressure. Decline is not a personal failure. It is a predictable response to reduced stimulus. Likewise, improvement is not a matter of willpower alone. It is the result of providing the right signals in the right doses. This perspective invites patience. Progress does not need to be dramatic to be meaningful. A little more steadiness, a little less stiffness, a little more confidence, these are profound victories. Movement becomes a daily conversation rather than a performance. Some days the body responds eagerly. Other days it asks for restraint. Both responses are information, not judgment. Listening to these signals allows adjustment without abandonment. This is how movement becomes sustainable, and sustainability is what preserves independence over decades rather than months. The beauty of this approach is its humility. It does not promise youth, it promises function. It does not fight aging, it works with biology as it is. The human body, even in its later decades, is not fragile in the way we often assume. It is sensitive, yes, but sensitivity is not weakness.